What is happening in the sports world? The news cycle is spinning faster than ever, and you need to be in the know. The Roger Report is your frontline pass to the biggest stories, the hottest takes, and the updates that will define the season. We're diving deep into the action, bringing you the essential intel you can't afford to miss. Get ready, because we're about to break down the games, the players, and the moments that are already making headlines. Don't blink, or you might miss it. First up, the New York Giants' highly anticipated season opener took a brutal turn as Russell Wilson stepped onto the field for his debut. And let's just say, it was not the start anyone envisioned. The Commanders' defense was absolutely suffocating, shutting down Wilson and the Giants' offense in a game that left fans questioning everything. Then, we're dissecting every painful moment of Russell Wilson's disastrous debut with the New York Giants. 3 brutal takeaways are emerging from that season-opening loss, and trust us, they are not pretty. We're talking about offensive line meltdowns, a ground game that couldn't get going, and a quarterback performance that has put his future in East Rutherford on ice faster than you can say, rebuild. This was supposed to be a new era, but for the Giants and Wilson, it's looking like more of the same old struggles. And speaking of nightmares, we're diving into Russell Wilson's truly nightmarish Giants debut. The narrative coming into this season was one of hope and a potential turnaround, but Sunday's game against the Commanders was a stark reminder of all the same old problems plaguing Big Blue. We'll break down how scoring touchdowns looked impossible, the blocking caved, and the defense couldn't get a stop. This is the deep dive you've been waiting for into a game that Giants fans will want to forget, but will help you understand exactly why it went so wrong. Finally, we're breaking down why the Russell Wilson experiment with the Giants has already flopped in its very first game. The pressure was on for a strong start, and instead, we saw a new quarterback, same old Giants. We're going to look at the critical missteps, the lack of momentum, and the tough questions swirling around Wilson's long-term prospects. Make sure you're subscribed and the notification bell is on, because you don't want to be left behind on any of these crucial updates. Let's go. Commanders shut down Russell Wilson and Giants' offense for Week 1 win. The New York Giants season opener was supposed to be a fresh start, a new era with Russell Wilson under center. But the reality was far from it. The Washington Commanders' defense delivered a masterclass, completely stifling Wilson and the Giants' offense in a decisive 21-6 victory. This performance has immediately put Wilson's tenure with the Giants under a microscope, especially with first-round pick Jackson Dart waiting in the wings and looking impressive during the preseason. Wilson struggled to find a rhythm, averaging just 4.5 yards per pass and completing a mere 17 of 37 attempts for 168 yards, also leading the team in rushing with 44 yards. A stat that highlights more about the passing game's struggles than his own effectiveness. On the other side, Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels showcased his potential in his second season, throwing for 233 yards and a touchdown, supported by a strong running game from Croskey-Merritt and a solid receiving performance from Deebo Samuel. The Commanders are building momentum, while the Giants are left searching for answers and a spark to ignite their season. The question now is whether Wilson can adapt, or if Dart will get his chance to prove he's the future. Don't go anywhere, because the fallout from this game is even more intense. We're about to unpack the 3 absolute brutal takeaways from Russell Wilson's Giants debut that you need to hear. 3 brutal takeaways from Russell Wilson's dreadful Giants debut. The New York Giants' season opener against the Commanders was a disaster, and the primary focus of that meltdown was the performance of new quarterback Russell Wilson. Falling 21-6, the G-men displayed a litany of issues that have plagued them in seasons past, with Wilson at the center of the offensive struggles. The offensive line was described as atrocious, offering little to no protection for Wilson, forcing him into a by-default rushing game that ironically led him to be the team's leading rusher with 44 yards. This lack of blocking was so severe that it was questioned if the linemen had ever played football before, especially without key player Andrew Thomas. Furthermore, the article bluntly states that Russell Wilson is not the savior the Giants desperately need, highlighting fundamental roster problems that even a Super Bowl-winning quarterback can't fix. The piece concludes that Wilson isn't changing the team's outlook, and while Jackson Dart might also struggle behind that line, Wilson's performance has already put his long-term viability in doubt. But the story doesn't end with just a bad debut. It gets even more painful. Get ready for a deep dive into Russell Wilson's truly nightmarish performance that had Giants fans seeing red. Russell Wilson has a nightmarish Giants debut in season-opening loss to Commanders. Sunday was supposed to signal a new beginning for the New York Giants, but their season opener against the Commanders unfolded like a familiar, painful script, culminating in a 21-6 loss. Russell Wilson, brought in to revitalize the offense, looked tentative and struggled mightily, going 17 for 37 for 168 yards. This performance mirrored the team's struggles from last season, where scoring touchdowns felt nearly impossible. The offensive line, particularly without Andrew Thomas, was overwhelmed, leading to constant pressure on Wilson. A particularly egregious example was the Giants failing to score a touchdown from the 8-yard line, opting for a field goal instead, which reportedly led to an on-field altercation between head coach Brian Daboll and receiver Malik Nabers. The defense also couldn't contain the Commanders' run game, as Jaden Daniels not only passed for 233 yards and a touchdown, but also rushed for 71 yards. Despite a late interception by Wilson, the Giants couldn't capitalize, ultimately falling to 0-1 for the 8th time in 9 years, with their season-opening woes continuing. This wasn't just a bad game. It was a sign of deeper issues that need immediate attention. We're going to break down why the Russell Wilson experiment with the Giants might already be over after this opening day disaster. Johnson, Giants, Russell Wilson experiment flops in season opener. The pressure was immense for Russell Wilson to deliver a strong start for the New York Giants, but his season debut against the Commanders was a resounding disappointment, leading to a 21-6 loss and immediate doubts about the experiment's success. The game encapsulated the new quarterback, same old Giants narrative, with a non-existent running game, a crumbling offensive line, and a quarterback unable to escape pressure. Wilson's stat line, 17 of 37, for 168 passing yards and 44 rushing yards, was described as inexcusable, especially given the team's preseason success. The article suggests that the only potential elixir might be rookie Jackson Dart, who is seen as a key to the franchise's turnaround, raising questions about how long head coach Brian Daboll will stick with Wilson, especially with Dart's first-round talent waiting. The Giants' inability to score touchdowns, even from the 2-yard line, contrasted sharply with a defense that, despite injuries, held the Commanders to just 14 points for much of the game. The bottom line is that Wilson can't afford a long leash, and the clock is ticking rapidly on his tenure. This opening day flameout raises serious questions about the team's direction. Stay tuned as we wrap up all the key takeaways and give you the full picture on the Roger Report. All right, sports fans, that's a wrap on another high-octane episode of the Roger Report. We saw Russell Wilson's Giants debut fall flat against a dominant Commanders performance. We dug into 3 brutal takeaways from Wilson's rough start, highlighting offensive line woes and a lack of impact. We explored the nightmarish debut for Russell Wilson, showing how old problems resurfaced for the Giants. And we detailed why the Russell Wilson experiment already seems to be flopping after just one game. Make sure you're hitting that like button if you got value. Subscribe to the Roger Report for all your essential sports intel, ring that notification bell so you never miss an update, and drop a comment below telling us your biggest takeaway from Week 1. Don't forget to follow us on all social platforms for even more exclusive content. We'll see you next time.